अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरी किसी के साथ मैं हूँ आपकी मेजबान इकरा ज़ाहिद और आप सबको खुशामदीद कहती हूँ एक नए लाइव सेशन में। जैसा कि मेरी यूनिवर्सिटी की ऑडियंस है वो जानती है कि हम रोजाना कुछ लाइव सेशन करते हैं जिनसे वो कुछ सीख सके, एजुकेट हो सके और मोटिवेट हो सके। आज भी हम एक बहुत ही खास मकसद से लाइव आए हैं, लेकिन आज हमारे साथ हमारी गेस्ट हैं, वो शायद उर्दू को समझ ही नहीं सकते, इसलिए हम कोशिश करेंगे कि उनके साथ इंग्लिश में ज्यादा बात करें। और आप सबको मैं बताना चाहती हूँ कि जितने भी लोग हमें ज्वाइन करेंगे, हम चाइनीज से आज बहुत अच्छी बातें करने वाले हैं ऑनलाइन टीचिंग के बारे में। अगर आपके कोई सवालात हैं तो आप प्लीज ऐड कीजिएगा, हम इंशाल्लाह चाइनीज से जरूर पूछेंगे, उनसे ट्रांसलेट कर देंगे और आप लोगों के लिए भी ट्रांसलेट कर देंगे। तो आप प्लीज इस बात की आड़ महसूस ना करें, अगर आप अपना सवाल उर्दू में भी लिखना चाहते हैं तो आप लिख के भेज सकते हैं। तो पहले चाइनीज से गुफ्तगू का आगाज करते हैं। हे चाइनी, हाउ आर यू?
I'm great, thank you. I'm just, as we were having conversation prior, I'm like incredibly grateful and thankful and honored to be having conversation with you today. And I was talking how the power of just doing one Facebook Live for me personally, and it led to one, to another, and just the interconnection of people all over the world and having this opportunity to having this interview with you. And Pakistan is by far like really incredible considering we're almost like completely in different parts of the world. So thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for this opportunity to have conversation with you today.
Thank you so much, Rani, and we also want to thank you for joining us for today. You spare your time for us. So, Chani, we are going to talk about online teaching opportunities. First of all, I wanted to tell people that Chani is a speaker and a therapist. Chani, if you want to introduce yourself for people, so you can do it.
Okay, thank you so much. And I work primarily as an occupational therapist with the pediatric population. I work with children 0 to about 12 years old. Recently, due to COVID, I've been doing a lot of telehealth therapy, and I've been working a lot with clients on Zoom. So I have a lot of experience with Zoom and FaceTime and WhatsApp video chats. In my spare time, I have been writing over the past few months. I'm in the process of publishing my first book for children. It's all about mindfulness meditation and how to embody our breath, whether we're sitting, whether we're standing, whether we're moving. And I feel like that's the direction that I'm leaning towards at these moments in time. Also in the process of writing an adult book on mindfulness meditation. It's really a book that I wish that I would have had when I was in my late teenage years and early 20s. I'm kind of writing about different skills and experiences that I've learned throughout my life. And in my spare time, I speak locally and internationally. I've had the opportunity to speak in Panama, in Boca El Toro, in South Africa, as well as some other countries. And I just love having conversations and having opportunity to just share with the people that are interested the importance of mindfulness meditation, the importance of being brave and courageous and really learning how to embody oneself. And typically in the fall semester, I teach occupational therapy graduate students at university. And so just having this diverse experience of teaching and speaking, and it kind of cultivated this movement of me feeling really inspired to really go out to help encourage and empower especially females to really stand up and to stand up into their ability and what they can do if they're interested in doing whatever it may be.
So great to hear, Chani. I would like to add some questions. First of all, I just want to know the current online opportunities according to you. What do you think? What are the current best online opportunities?
So I would say within the United States, there are, especially in New York, there are a lot of online opportunities, especially in March, April, May, and June. The school system were completely closed, so students had to transition to an online format. And I find that I feel personally that there's going to be a massive shift to online, especially with COVID, and especially they're predicting a second wave. And I feel like in general, this is opportunity to use technology to really help students, to help teachers, and to help everyone, because we all pretty much, for the most part, have the ability to take whatever we're doing and put it online. So it's opportunity. Yes, it's great to connect and be with individuals in person. However, due to circumstances, it may not be a feasible option. And we see that with COVID. So now we have that opportunity to explore another platform, another medium, in another way. So I feel like there is many opportunities, and I'm looking online. There's many companies in the States, there's many agencies, and there's many websites that are looking for teachers, and there's definitely a need, especially within the universities, and I'm sure within the education within the primary schools and middle schools and high school as well.
Yeah. As Chanie has told us, there are a lot of online opportunities. What do you think? What are the required skills? What skills you should have if you are going for online teaching?
So I think the foundation, the utmost important and vital thing is communication. That's utmost, especially as a teacher.
Okay.
It's very important speaking in a clear and a very concise manner. It's very important to be mindful of verbal and nonverbal communication, especially 80% of our communication is nonverbal. So when speaking and teaching,
Exactly.
it's even more so important just to be mindful of our body and our body position, our tonality and our voice, and the way that we're interacting with ourselves and with our students. Another thing that's really important is technology literacy, which I think that there's
Exactly.
4 main things that are important with that, and I kind of wrote some notes with it. The importance of the teacher and the students, their accessibility to technology, because a big thing that I was finding and realizing is you can have this really incredible and really great idea, and you want to teach this course, you want to teach this program, but it's making sure who is your target audience, and do they actually have access to a computer? Do they have access to a laptop, to a tablet? Do they have internet? And for some of the clients that I've been working with in occupational therapy, a lot of them didn't. So as a provider, it was the importance of advocating for them so that they're having the appropriate means. So it's realizing also, yes, technology is great, but there are individuals that may not have access. And if you have the ability and if you have the means to be able to advocate, there are resources for families that can tap into, and that the government can provide something maybe on temporary loan, or they can pay like a small amount so that they can have access to that. So I think that's very important, to know the audience and to know their ability, and do they have access to whatever program, whatever course, or whatever thing you're interested in implementing. Another thing is also the program that you're using, to evaluate the internet resource. Is it credible? Is it reliable? Is it something that is consistent? Or if I put on certain information, will it like crash, and will I be unable to utilize the program? Another thing
Exactly.
is also being mindful when you're posting anything or doing anything, the citations. And again, it's going back to the copyright. Again, is this source legit? Is it valid? Is it something that I can utilize? And especially as a teacher, if I'm using a certain resource, can I troubleshoot on my own? Do I have a basic understanding of if something freezes, if the camera's not working correctly, if the volume's not working? Do I have the basic ability to troubleshoot when there is a challenge? And for me personally, I'm not very tech savvy. So I typically, if I'm having trouble when I'm doing, let's say, a Zoom session, or when I'm teaching at university, typically there's a tech department that I personally go to ask for help. So that may be an option, knowing yourself and knowing your ability. If it's something that you're able to do, great. And if it's not, see what other resources, maybe a YouTube video, maybe a person at university, maybe a person that helped you develop the program. If you personally weren't the one that was developing, it can also be something that may need to come into play as well.
Okay. So I would like to little talk for my audience, Chanie. I hope you will know it. सो गाइस, जो भी चाइनीज से हमारी बात हो रही है, चाइनीज से हमने पूछा था कि उनको क्या लगता है कौन सी रिक्वायर्ड स्किल्स होनी चाहिए, तो उन्होंने हमें जो 3 बहुत अच्छी बातें बताई हैं. मैं चाहूंगी कि जिन लोगों को इंग्लिश नहीं समझ आती है तो वो भी इस बात को अच्छी तरीके से समझ. उन्होंने 3 बहुत ही अच्छे पॉइंट्स हमें बताए हैं कि कम्युनिकेशन, आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी को इस्तेमाल करना, और तीसरी कि अपने पोटेंशियल को आपको पता होना चाहिए और फिर आपको उसको कैसे यूटिलाइज करना है. तो ये तीनों चीजें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, और कम्युनिकेशन के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप जो भी लैंग्वेज यूज करें, जैसे कि अगर आप इंग्लिश यूज करें तो आपको इंग्लिश क्लियर आना चाहिए, अगर आप उर्दू या कोई भी लैंग्वेज का इस्तेमाल करें तो आपको अच्छे तरीके से आना चाहिए. अगर आपके कोई सवालात हैं तो आप प्लीज अपने सवालात को जरूर ऐड करें, हम इंशाल्लाह चाइनी से जरूर पूछेंगे. चाइनी, people are also asking questions from you. I will also add in the end that question. Chanie, I wanted to know that if you are doing or going for online teaching, how much it is important to advertise your teaching business when you are doing online teaching things?
How much is for advertisement if you're doing online? How much advertisement you should do if you're doing online teaching? So it
Yes.
really I feel like it really depends on what type of course and your target audience. If you have a large target audience and if your primary means of advertisement maybe is, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, then you can just focus in on there and advertise there. If you're not having a large target audience, then it's opportunity to open up and to try to branch out and to find other means and other resources to be able to advertise. So then it might be feasible to advertise a lot.
Exactly. Chanie, what do you think? What are the best online current website or tools or apps which you can use for online teaching?
So my favorite and my go-to is Zoom. That's my favorite platform that I like to use with students. You have opportunity to share your screen, and if it's diagrams, videos, audios, visuals, it gives that opportunity. So that's really the primary system that I'm very familiar with. I also do like, especially when I'm working one-on-one and teaching one-on-one, especially with little students, I like to use FaceTime because there's options of putting little animals and little emojis and little rewards, and the little ones are very excited to see it. Oh, you need to do, let's say, a coloring game or a coloring activity. Once you do that, then you're going to get this little animal, and it kind of sparks them, and it kind of goes into their motivation if they're so interested in seeing that animal on the screen. So that's kind of another platform that I like to use for those emojis. And typically also with a lot of the parents that I'm working with, they have access to FaceTime. If they didn't have access to it, then it wouldn't be a feasible option. Because they have access to it and they're also very familiar, if the camera's not working, if they're having trouble with the audio, they have a way for themselves to be able to troubleshoot, so that I'm not necessarily the one that needs to troubleshoot for them.
Okay. Chanie, I would like to add a question from the audience which is quite related to my previous one. They're asking about high demand online courses. According to you, which are the high demand online courses in the current situation?
So I feel like there are a demand and there are so many courses out there, and I feel like there is definitely a high demand, especially within current times. People really are on their phones or on their computers, on internet, and they're looking for courses. And the intention is, if you are cultivating and creating a course, is cultivating a strong message and a strong reasoning of why you're doing it, and tapping in to the intention of why. So then ultimately it's standing out from all the other courses. And especially when creating the course, making it very, when creating, let's say, an advertisement, making it very bold and very direct, so that individuals are kind of lured to it and interested in with whatever the course may be.
Yes. Chanie, I would like to add another question which is related to the previous talk we have, about communication. So suppose Vani wanted to add that, ma'am, what is the importance of communication skills for online teaching and how we can improve it?
So I feel like communication skills is vital with conversation and with interview. So how can we improve communication skills? Through speaking, through having conversations, through readings. I feel like those are great ways to help improve communication skills. Through watching speakers, through watching different gurus, through watching maybe TV shows or movies that are related to communication, reading books on communication. And I think there's a YouTube video. I'm trying to think of who it's by. I think it's by Amy Cuddy. She does a lot of work with nonverbal and verbal communication and standing within one's power. And especially, let's say, if you think about it, let's say nonverbal communication, or if you think about it, even now, if we try with ourselves and with our body, if we're leaning in a certain position and our body slouched over, automatically our frame of mind and our state of mind is going to be more lethargic, and it's going to be more concentrated, versus if we're sitting in an upright position, we're more empowered, we're more in a self-confident position. So it's also, that's another big component with communication, is our posture. And to help improve that in itself, if you're sitting in a very slouched posture, sitting in an upright posture, that's one simple way and simple thing that can help. And along with reading and conversation, and along with maybe watching TV shows and watching different movies that are focusing on communication.
Chanie, there are a lot of people who are asking how they can start online teaching. Can you suggest, if some people have some potential to do online teaching, how they should start their set?
I would say to develop a course, even before starting to online teach. Have an idea, develop a course, find out the details of it first. And then I would say take that and have conversations with locally your Facebook friends, your social media friends, your LinkedIn friends. See if there's an interest, see if there's not an interest. Have a conversation with someone that is very familiar with online teaching. Maybe have them critique it very mindfully and see with what you created, what's working, what's not working, and ask people, have conversations with people that are very familiar with online teaching, what's working for them, what's not working for them, and creating this platform of this interconnection of like-minded individuals that are doing it, people that have done it, people that are interested in doing it, and kind of brainstorming with one another and collectively creating independent courses, but then ultimately working with each other to be able to help promote success.
Exactly. Chanie, if you move further, there are a lot of things you should manage. When you are doing online teaching, you have a lot of things to manage. How do you manage things and how a person should manage things when they're going for online teaching?
I'm not sure what you mean by manage. Like
Means
manage and
like which platforms you are using. You should use Facebook, Instagram for proper advertisement. So, what are the proper process of managing your business of online teaching?
I would say the proper way to help manage is to potentially, if you have opportunity, I personally would have someone help me with it, because especially if you want to focus in, if you want to be able to focus in on your teaching and your abilities to teach
Okay.
and your development of the courses or whatever it may be, focusing in on that. And if you have that option, having other individuals helping to manage. If that's not a feasible option, then it's really being mindful of what platforms am I utilizing and focus in on what the platforms are. When I'm focusing in those platforms, then I'm going to be able to mindfully manage it. If I'm having many different platforms, it can be really tricky and it can be a challenge to be able to manage it. So it's really being mindful, what platforms do I have, and to manage it, potentially
Okay.
set reminders every day. So let's say in the morning I'm going to check on Instagram, and then in the evening I'm going to check on Facebook, and I'm going to maybe make sure to post something or put something there. And I know that there are some apps as well, if you're interested in posting things, that can automatically post, let's say at 9 a.m. every other day or every 2 days. So that kind of reduces actually gives the individual more time to be able to do whatever they want to do, rather than having to think, oh, did I post something? Did I not post something? Am I managing this account or not?
That's a great suggestion. I would like to translate it for our audience कि जब भी आप किसी को मैनेज नहीं कर पा रहे तो चैनी अपना अपने रिमाइंडर्स लगाएं और अपनी कैजुअल लाइफ को अगर आप करेंगे तो आपके लिए काफी आसानी होगी मैनेज करने में, जो कि काफी अच्छी सजेशन है. So Chani, let's move further. अगर let's move further. If you want to make your online teaching more effective, so people will not feel less focused on during your online teaching. So what should you do to make it more effective and focused?
So I feel like to make it more effective, and it goes back to when I'm like teaching at university or when I'm teaching children. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the VARC learning styles. So there's something called VARC
Okay.
styles, and every individual has a primary method of learning. I think we all have a collectiveness of a combination of what I'm about to say, but so there's primarily 4 learning methods. So individuals can be an auditory learner, there can be a visual
Okay.
learner, there can be a read and write learner, and there can be a kinesthetic learner. So when you're teaching online, it's very important to target as many learning styles as you can. Obviously, you don't want to overboard. So what do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, an individual that's a visual learner, they do really well. They prefer learning visually, seeing things with their eyes. So if you're doing some online
Exactly.
course or online platform, so ideas would be having visuals, having diagrams. That's a way to tap into the visual learners. So if you're working with individuals that are an auditory learner, they're like hearing things. So you speaking,
Okay.
asking questions, that's another way to really work with the auditory learners. Then if you have the read and write learners, these individuals automatically, it's very likely they learn through reading and writing. So these individuals are very likely, as you're having conversation, as you're teaching, it's very likely they're automatically going to be reading and they're going to be writing. These individuals, they do really well with reading assignments, and they do really
Okay.
well with writing assignments. But lastly, the last type of learner, there are like really many more, but these are the primary 4. And I personally, we're all a combination of everything, and we might have a preference. So for me, my preference is the last one, which is the kinesthetic learner. These learners learn through movement. So if let's say you're giving a course and you're giving a class, it's very important to give breaks and to give opportunity to move, even if it's just a minute or two, like, okay, let's just get up and let's move and let's stress just for that minute or two. These individuals learn through hands-on. They learn really well with experiments. They learn really well with touching and feeling. Sometimes, like for me personally as a student, and I'm also a doctoral student, and I do listen to a lot of online classes for my doctoral work. So some of the times I'll have like a fidget ball in my hand, or I'll have some type of fidget toy. Why? Because this helps me be more attentive, and it helps me to be able to follow and to be able to stay and sit for a longer period of time, because I know my primary method of learning is kinesthetic through movement. So it's really understanding that everyone has different learning styles, and with the teaching that I'm going to implement, how can I target most and do a collectiveness of different types of teaching modalities and teaching methods to help engage the individuals.
I would like to translate it for my audience कि अगर आप different तरह के teaching methods सीखेंगे, ज़्यादा visuals का और movement से इस्तेमाल करेंगे, तो आप जो online teaching है उसको effective बना सकते हैं as a conclusion. So, Chanie would like to add a question for you from asking, please suggest some famous platforms or websites for online teachers.
So I would say at this point with my university students, I've used Blackboard. That's my go-to. And recently for my doctoral classes, it's been relocated to Canvas. Those are the two that are really great. And I really prefer Blackboard. Another platform that I recently started getting into is Google Classroom. And Google Classroom is a free platform, and it's really, really incredible, especially if you're working with students and with kids. It's opportunity. You can see one student or 5 students all at once, and you can have that collectiveness, group energy, and you can have the ability to be able to teach in that environment as well.
Okay, Chanie, that would be great. Chanie, I would like to add about your therapy sessions. You do therapy sessions with kids and the parents. So I would like you to add some information about your therapy sessions.
Sure, I'd love to. So I work as an occupational therapist. Primarily this year, I'm working with 0 to 3-year-old children. These little ones, a lot of them are special needs. They have diagnoses: autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and some just developmental delay, just a little bit slower in development physically and gross motor wise. And I went to occupational therapy. I'm not sure for people that are watching are familiar, so I'll just briefly say occupational therapy is, in a nutshell, it's like collectively, if an individual is experiencing any challenges or any difficulty in their life, an occupational therapist can help, especially in relation to daily occupation, whether it's related to eating, to sleeping, to breathing, to socialization, to walking, to running. So an occupational therapist can help within those areas. And within pediatrics, a primary occupation for kids is play. So a lot of the times as a provider, I'm tapping into children's play skills. What skills does a child need in order to be successful within their developmental milestones? So I'm looking at a whole diverse areas. I'm looking at their fine motor skills, their ability to manipulate with their fingers. I'm looking at their gross motor skills, their ability to walk, run, sit. I'm looking at their vision and their eyes, and just kind of want to say it very simply. There's more intricate details with gross motor and fine motor, just so people can get an idea. Visual motor, so their ability to see things, follow things with their eyes, take a ball, catch a ball, throw a ball, write, pick up a pencil, write. So that would be some type of visual type of motor skill. Their sleeping skill, are they sleeping throughout their night? Their ability to follow simple directions, their attention span. Those are just collectively, and another area that I've been focusing a lot on over the past in general is their sensory skills, their body and their relationship to themselves and to other people, their ability to tolerate movement, their ability to tolerate touch, their ability to eat. Are they a picky eater, or are they eating a diverse amount of food? So that's kind of occupational therapy kind of in a really big nutshell, and especially in relation to pediatrics. So occupational therapy, there's a big tendency for hands-on and physically doing manipulations and doing movements on a therapy ball, doing certain NDT movements to help promote brain activity. And because of COVID starting in March, as providers in New York, we haven't had the opportunity to physically go into clients' home and to physically go into schools to work with these children. So ultimately, over the past few months, really working with parents I've been coaching the parents, and the parents ultimately have been my hands. I've been the voice and they've been my hands to help facilitate different movements and different skills. And it's just been an incredible learning curve, and it hones in for me the importance of my communication skills and being able to talk in a very simple, clear manner, and to kind of, there's great occupational therapy and professional terminology, but ultimately when it comes down to it, it's really important to be able to speak in a very simple, concise manner, because a lot of the parents that I'm working with, they don't know visual perceptual or gross motor or sensory processing or proprioception or vestibular. So it took me a little bit to be able to talk and teach something in a very simple way so that they can be able to help their child and help their children with whatever it may be. A lot of the children that I'm working with, they have autism, and they're having a lot of sensory challenges, they're having a lot of sleep challenges and feeding challenges. So it's a lot of suggestions and opportunities and different ideas that can really help the parents so that they can be able to help their children. And collectively, a big theme, and especially I have a lot of training with mindfulness meditation and in mental health. So a big theme when I'm working with these parents, and it's within my scope, and it's a big merging area, is within mental health, and especially, and it's an area that I'm really, really passionate about, is mindfulness meditation and the importance of self-care. And it's been inspired from Susie Lula, who's one of my mentors, and every parent that I work with, starting the session and starting conversation with, how are you doing today? How can I be there to be of service and to enhance? Because ultimately, especially a lot of females, they're the primary caregivers, and they have, let's say, 2 or 3 or 5 kids. They have a husband, or they have another spouse in the home, and they have a lot on their plate, and they need to take care of first themselves. So especially if they're having a special need child and other children, so the importance of them taking care of themselves. So especially early on in COVID, a lot of emphasis on the importance of self-care to the parent and individualize what things are important for yourself. What do you need to spark a little bit of energy? Maybe it's a nap, maybe it's a walk, maybe I can teach you some meditation, maybe we can come up with some skills and suggestions so that you can better be able to help your child, so you can better be able to help yourself. Because ultimately, that female, and primarily I have been working with female, there are a few male dads that fathers that I've been working with too, but primarily it's really been with the females, of taking that step back, delegating a task to your spouse, to a significant other. Maybe if you have an older child that's, let's say, capable of watching the little one, even just for 5 minutes, so that mom can just go out for a walk, just go to the bathroom, take a shower, whatever it may be, so that mom can better be there for her child. So that's been a lot of what I've been doing over the past few months. And I'm personally actually really enjoying doing online a lot more than doing in person, because now I'm noticing that there's been a lot of progress with my students within the past few months, of children that are not making eye contact, children that are having difficulty sitting still. And when parents are involved, there's been 360 shift with a lot of these children of not being able to basic skills. And now that they're able to, because mom and dad are there and they're able to learn the skills, and we're able to have this open dialogue of what's working, what's not working daily, so that it really can help not only the parents, but really ultimately enhancing the child. And when the child's skills are improving or progressing, ultimately parents are able to kind of take a little bit of a breather and a little bit step back. But even though, not to say, even when children's skills aren't progressing, parents are doing the best that they can, it's also a breather. If they're doing the best that they can take a step back too, because it's not whether the child is progressing or not, it's ultimately we're doing the best that we can in this moment, and this is where your child's at this moment, who knows the next moment. And it's a lot of times telling these parents, your child is beautiful and perfect the way they are, and then there's some behaviors that we can work on and I can suggest to help your little one be able to excel and be able to function a little bit better with their play, with their siblings, with their friends, with their family.
Incredible. Chanie, you're doing an incredible job. I can see how much you love your work and you enjoy your work. So I just want to add, if some people want to be a good therapist like you, so they can enjoy their work the way you like it. So what should they do?
Thank you. So what I do, I'm always reading and writing and researching and having conversations with parents and directly talking with the individuals that I'm working what's working and what's not working, so I can kind of redirect the therapy session. So with one of the clients I can think of off the top of my head, been very into using like a reward system. The child does, let's say, an activity that's really challenging. Maybe it's like a balance activity. They're walking on pillows, they're running, they're jumping, whatever it may be. Use it as a reward system, and I'll use, let's say, an iPod, like a really cute, fun, interactive, educational game. And I like doing it. And for some of the children, it wasn't necessarily working. And for some of the parents, they're like, we'd rather you not do that. So then it was me having dialogue, having conversation. Oh, like, I understand that you don't like this reward system or this idea. What else can we do? And then a lot of the times the parents would come up with, oh, maybe we'll give my child like their favorite snack after they do it, rather than having the exposure to, let's say, the iPad. Or another idea for the parent was like a new favorite toy or a little like reward system. When they're able to do X, Y, and Z, then they're going to go outside and play on the swing. So by me having this dialogue, I was able to see, and parents feeling comfortable to say, like, I'm not really appreciating when you're using the iPad. I would prefer if we can do something else. And problem solving together, because collectively I'm there to help their child and I'm here to help the parent. So problem solving together allowed that opportunity to steer the therapy session into the direction that it's really helping the child, and we're developing the skills, and the parent feels comfortable with the direction that we're going in as well. So it's constant dialogue, and then it also goes back into, for individuals that are therapists, whether you're an occupational therapist, a social worker, a special ed teacher, a speech therapist, any therapy, is what made you interested in going into this profession in the first place. And for me, it's to be in service of others, and it's really to be able to help children and to help parents. Initially, it was primarily, when I first started, was really directed at parents. Now I'm leaning a lot towards children, and now I'm leaning a lot towards parents and parents' education. I'm very passionate about helping to teach parents skills to be able to better be able to help their child. And ultimately, as Dr. Shefali, and Dr. Shefali Tavari is one of my mentors, who's just like incredible, but ultimately, the learnings that I've learned and I've realized is everyone's a mirror. So for parents, if they're really struggling with their child, it's a mirror. So it's parents learning that whatever they're having in their life, and especially if the child is having difficulty and challenges, they're serving as a mirror, and there's opportunity to learn and to grow. And yes, there's hardships and there's challenges 100%. And this ultimately looking at it as a gift. And how can I learn? How can I grow? What are the skills as a parent that I can use? What providers can help me to better be able to be there for my child, and so that my child can develop these skills? And that's something also that I like to teach parents that are interested and then open to hearing that, is to working with their child as learning and as growing, rather than my child has a disability and my child can't do this, and this. It's looking at what can my child can do, and this child is a beautiful blessing and a beautiful gift, rather than looking at it of the child is like not sitting and not moving and the child is 5 years old. It's a reframe and another perspective on, this is a beautiful individual, this is where the child's at, what can I do, what is within the realm to be able to help the child be successful and to develop certain skills, if it's even a possibility. For some children, it can be a little bit of a challenge, but everyone has the ability to develop skills and to develop functionality to the degree within their own needs individually, and especially with parents, and especially with kids that have special needs.
So glad to hear, and I am so happy that you are so dedicated towards our children, and I am so glad to have you on my platform. More power to you. I just hope you get all the success in your work. So thank you so much for joining us, Chanie. We had so much learning experience with you.
Thank you. It's really been an honor, and I'm really incredibly grateful and thankful to have had this opportunity to have conversation with you, Sue. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanie, once again for coming on our platform and providing us so much beautiful information. I hope to see you again on this platform. Till then, take care.
The honor. Thank you. Take care. Have a great night.
Have a good night, you too.
Yeah.
तो आज के लिए आप लोग के लिए यूनिवर्सिटी इतना ही। इंशाल्लाह हम इसको पोस्ट कर देंगे, आप रिवाइंड करके भी सुन सकते हैं अगर आपको कुछ प्लेटफॉर्म्स वगैरह इसके बारे में जानने हैं। तो आज के लिए आप लोग के यूनिवर्सिटी इतना ही। इंशाल्लाह आपकी खिदमत में हाजिर होंगे किसी नए लाइव सेशन के साथ जिससे आप मजीद सीख सके। तो आज के लिए अपनी मेजबान इकरा जाहिद को दीजिए इजाजत। खुदा हाफिज। गुड बाय चानी, टेक केयर।
Bye. Thank you.
बाय।